Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as the link to our good friends at Dice Legion. Use the promo code Sinister, get 10% off all of your purchases. And finally, we are doing a huge push to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We're at the halfway mark of the year, and we're at the halfway mark of our goal. This is absolutely doable, but we cannot do this without you. So if you've seen the channel, if you've seen a couple of our videos, definitely encourage you to hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, we're going to jump into this week's video, the Chronology Wizard. The Chronology Wizard comes to us from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. This is the book that was produced by the Critical Role guys and D&D combined, which is why they have a very, very unique kind of flavor to them. It really reflects that Critical Role kind of experience you get with all their books and the stuff that they do. It is a time-based wizard, so a lot of the things that you do are usually sequenced around that. It's a very cool concept. Definitely take your time to really read the flavor text to help get an idea about what it's like to be a chronology wizard, because there's a lot of like nuance written in that, and it helps to guide a certain kind of personality or an obsession to time, which might be a really interesting thing to pursue, as this is kind of like your passion. This is like your wizarding world. Because time isn't really a school of wizardry, it does kind of step away from that traditional wizard of just writing everything down into books, and it kind of deviates from that in the methodology behind it. So really try and keep those things a little separate. Understand they still exist, but they're not as impactful for a chronology wizard. Chronal Shift. At second level, you can magically exert limited control over the flow of time around a creature. As a reaction, after you or a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can force the creature to reroll. You make this decision after you see whether the roll succeeds or fails. The target must use the result of the second roll. You can use this ability twice, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So this is something really to consider. There aren't many abilities that cause creatures to reroll saving throws, or give really opportunities for a disadvantage on saving throws. So that's probably going to be your main usage of this, is when you throw a spell out there and the enemy makes a high roll. You might want to risk it to reroll so they don't make it, and then maybe ultimately end up failing. This can be useful a lot of times in a lot of different areas, because again, it's attack rolls, it's ability checks, and it's a reaction. Unfortunately, you can only do so twice, and it does not give you advantage or disadvantage. You just have to use the second roll. So crit failures, this is a great way to get out of that. When the enemy crits, this is a great way to change that. But again, you get only 2 uses. It doesn't grow as you level up. It's just 2. So you have to be a little possessive about your opportunities to use this. Temporal Awareness. Starting at second level, you can add your intelligence modifiers to your initiative rolls. This is a very powerful tool. And the reason why I say this is because in combat, going first can really set the stage for how your combat goes. Because you're a wizard, you can, at higher levels, you can throw things down like a wall of fire or something to mitigate how the battlefield is now going to be managed. Doing that early on can make a huge difference, because now you can limit the ways that enemies would channel towards you guys. You can augment the battlefield. You can do a lot of things to obscure pathing for the enemy. You can just flat out slow a bunch of them. You can throw a fireball on a whole bunch of minions and lower the opportunity for any of them to come any closer right off the bat. You can disable somebody. Like, a lot of great things come out of being able to move before the enemy does. And this, because you're a wizard, intelligence is the most important thing you can get. You're going to bump this up pretty quickly. So you expect a +5 to initiative almost like as soon as humanly possible. Your first ASI, or if you rolled for stats and managed to get a 20, this is where it would go. It's just such a benefit in combat. Momentary Stasis. When you reach 6th level, as an action, you can magically force a large or smaller creature you can see within 60 feet of you to make a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. Unless the saving throw is a success, the creature is encased in a field of magical energy until the end of your next turn or until the creature takes any damage. While encased in this way, the creature is incapacitated and has a speed of 0. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of once. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This, at 6th level, that con save that the enemy's probably making can be intimidating. And that's a lot of the reasons why you don't see people using spells or using abilities that require con save, because everyone is just greatly scared over them actually making the save because it's Constitution and their numbers are kind of high for that. You have to try. You got to really just throw it out there. The more often you use it, the more often it will succeed. You just got to go out there and give it your best shot. Again, you can also use your first ability of Chronal Shift and try and make them fail that saving throw anyway. But this, if it lands, takes an enemy out for 2 rounds, really. Because it's till the end of your next turn. So for this turn, they're out, and everyone else has to go out and around you or before or after you. Doesn't have to worry about them. Then following the end of your next turn, that's a big amount of time in combat to have a character doing nothing. Think about how detrimental that is when it happens to a party member of yours. Doing this to the right creature can make a big difference. You can pick a lot of creatures because large is a pretty big size that governs a lot of the enemies you'll be facing. So just use it. Don't get the fear of con saves being high for monsters as a reason for you not to try and use this ability. It is a strong ability that you get a lot of uses out of. So really try and get it out there. If it lands a couple of times a day, that's worth it in and out of itself. Arcane Ambiance. At 10th level, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th or lower, you can condense the spell's magic into a mote. The spell is frozen in time at the moment of casting and held within the gray bead for 1 hour. This bead is a tiny object with an AC of 15 and 1 hit point and is immune to poison and psychic damage. When the duration ends, or if the bead is destroyed, it vanishes in a flash of light and the spell is lost. A creature holding the bead can use its action to release the spell within, whereupon the bead disappears. The spell uses your spell attack bonus and save DC, and the spell treats the creature who released it as the caster for all other purposes. Once you create a bead with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. In a creative player's hands, this does a huge amount of opportunistic openings, I guess. If you're an evil character, you could give it to someone, send them in a situation and tell them it's an invisibility spell, and then give them the opportunity to go in a situation that you know is going to get dangerous, and then have them cast the actual spell from the Arcane Ambiance and end up having it be Fireball because they don't know what the spell is and they could have blown up themselves and everything there. You can do creative things with this. You can send it off with other players to do things, whatever. Put in invisibility, put in Misty Step, put in web. A lot of different things can be done with that. You really got to go through your spell list and kind of be really creative and out of the box thinking with this, but this can give you a lot of cool things to do that aren't really possible anywhere else in the game. It's a fantastic way to hold on to a magical spell for an hour, almost like you're holding for a reaction, you know? And it becomes this cool availability to trick someone into doing something horrible, you know, and it can be fun. It can be exciting, depending on how devious of a character you are or lawful. You might save a life. You might be able to travel and do something great, like say you have nobody that has any healing spells whatsoever. Maybe you can put like vampiric touch in there or something and give it to someone and let them just like pull life back. It's Creative, it's interesting. It gives you a lot of freedom to do a lot of things that you wouldn't normally think are considerate, and give it to other characters so they can do it, and you can almost puppet master the whole event. Convergent Future. Starting at 14th level, you can peer through possible futures and magically pull one of them into events around you, ensuring a particular outcome. When you or a creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can use your reaction to ignore the dice roll and decide whether the number rolled is the minimum needed to succeed or one less than that number. Your choice. When you use this feature, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. Only by finishing a long rest can you remove the level of exhaustion gained in this way. So right off the bat, wildly powerful. You can use that on just gaining 1 level of exhaustion and really have no issue in the game. Like, 1 level of exhaustion is really not that huge of a deal. You really need to read the exhaustion levels and look at your character and see how far you're willing to go with this. Because if it's boss time and you need those fails, this is a big, big deal. All those save or suck spells become almost guaranteed when you have this ability. And that is life-changing. It makes such a scary, inhuman difference when you can do something like that. And it doesn't have to be just combat. It can be in social scenarios and adventuring where you need something to happen desperately. Obviously, I wouldn't do something like this if I was like, oh, hey, DM, I just want to try and grow 2 extra usable arms and just roll a con check and then just Convergent Future and make myself have 4 arms. Like, it clearly just doesn't make stuff like that work. But you have such an agency over a miracle when you have this feature. It's really just that strong. Our final thoughts on the Chronunergy Wizard. It creates this wonderful sense of thinking outside the box and being the wizard in such a new way that it almost revitalizes the class. Because you could have played a wizard before and you play a Chronunergy Wizard, and now you've played it almost in a way that makes it feel new to you. The abilities are meant to buff and support you and create these great concepts that you don't get anywhere else. The abilities you get to just warp the results, Momentary Stasis, Temporal Awareness, Arcane Ambiance, they give you tools that are so unique that it really creates a new way of considering how to be a wizard, and how that affects you is a really cool, very well designed result of a great subclass. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. Big thank you if you've made it all the way out this far. Thank you so much for all the support and all the love. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, that link is in the description, just as the link to Dice Legion, where our good friends are. Use the promo code Sinister, get 10% off. We are still doing this push to make 2,000 subscribers, so if you've made it this far and like what you saw, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. And without anything else left to say, just wanted to say thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.